Good day, viewers. Welcome to today's program. So you'll be having myself and Baba Alex Oluwole Ajala with us today. Coach Tak is a bit under the weather, so I would try and be the host and the panelist at the same time in company of Baba Ajala. So thank you very much once again for joining us. I'll just ask Baba Jala to say hello to our viewers.
Hello, thanks for having me on this program again today. I will continue to be on this program until we reach out to the minds and souls of every one of us that happens to be a Yoruba person worldwide, and with particular reference to that, ìpínlẹ̀ tàbí tí àwọn Yorùbá wà, not orílẹ̀-èdè, which is the mistake we've all been making.
Okay.
Má mọ ìtumọ̀ èdè Yorùbá.
Yeah.
Tá a bá sọ pé orílẹ̀-èdè àwọn tó ní
So
abínibí
Yoruba.
kan tó ń dẹ̀ ń sọ tó jẹ́ pé orísun kan náà ti jáde, just the same way that I have always said. And that is why part of what we are discussing now is the price of freedom, understanding,
The
knowing
price
who
of
you are.
freedom.
The
Yeah.
price of freedom boils on when you know who you are, then that's the first stage of your freedom. When you
Exactly.
don't know who you are, you are still unstable, both physically and mentally. And this
And
is
I did say last week, looking at price of freedom, I said when people were taken from Africa in chains, so we have that. A lot of people always think, oh, slavery means you need to have chains in your neck and in your hands all the time, or you are incarcerated. But I made the analogy that when people were taken from Africa in those days, chains were on their neck, but when they get to their destination, the chains are taken off. And then the taking off of the chains does not mean that they are free, they are still enslaved. So in our modern world today, even though chains are not in our neck to move around all the times, they've still been able to put that artificial uh, bondage on so many people, and especially our Yoruba people who are in location Nigeria. Today we'll continue from that price of freedom. So what people pay to get freedom. In the case of Nelson Mandela, he spent 27 years in detention to fight for his freedom and the freedom of his people in South Africa. Sunday Adeyemo, aka Igboho, also paid his own price, being incarcerated in Republic of Benin. And we have Nnamdi Kanu also being incarcerated, and you hear every day the judges are always saying, "Oh, today we'll hear the case." And when they get to court, sometimes it's one excuse or the other from the government. So it's been more than a year, and still they've still not been able to have proper time in court, which means he's still in DSS detention rather than a proper prison facility. So Baba Jala and myself will be looking at what people pay, the price, because if we don't understand who we are, we may not know how to really fight and pursue that freedom. So Baba Jala, talking about prices people pay, in this time around, we are thinking, because you spoke about Ipinle, which is different from Orile-Ede. We're looking at freeing an entire race, not just an individual in this case. So we're talking about freeing the Yoruba people. And as it is, the Yoruba people and other nationalities are trapped in this contraption, Nigeria. And they are saying Nigeria is no longer working for us. How do we extricate ourselves? So maybe if you can shed more light on that. sir.
At this point in time, our voice will be one of the biggest currency to
Hmm.
pay for this freedom. All of that is will come along with it. But if we do not make our people to know that ìpínlẹ̀ Nigeria, I keep on stressing, those I enjoy listening to those young men and women speaking the Yoruba language in their various programs. But what I conclude is that they don't understand the meaning of the words they say. Even though some people might seem to have a clarity, ìjìnlẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń sọ kò sí níbẹ̀.
Hmm.
And that is I have adopted a way to along the line speak Yoruba with English. Because some of our elders in those days who have gone to school and learned Latin, they will speak English and Latin together. And particularly Dr. Namias Dikwe, they will say, oh, àkùkọ. Àwọn Yorùbá sọ pé ọ̀mọ̀wé.
Hmm.
What I'm saying is that I want right across board, worldwide, those listening to us, to understand that there's a big problem amongst the Yorubalis, and that problem is not a social reawakening, it is not a cultural reawakening, is a quest for sovereignty. And that quest for sovereignty will first of all start with our people understanding who they are, where do they belong. Do they really belong to Nigeria? No. Wọ́n pín wa mọ́ Nigeria ni. We were put divided up into Nigeria because some of our relations and Dahomey, which is now Benin Republic, and Togo. So it means a line was drawn between some of our people. Some of them happen to be English-speaking Yorubas, and the others French-speaking Yorubas, as it comes. So the price to pay is to make our people understand that we are just living what I would call in a rented environment,
Hmm.
which is not ours, because our forefathers did not stand up to say, oh, Igbo, Hausa, Ibibio, come together, let us form a country, and let us call it Nigeria. Will they have ever called it Nigeria? Because differently, the Igbos call the River Niger Osimiri. The Hausa call it Kwara. The Yorubas call it Oya. Which name do you adopt? So Nigeria could not have ever come up at all.
Yeah.
But because who are not the creators, the people who created it found it convenient to name it after the major river that the land space they occupy contains that river. And the delta, the mouth of the River Niger is there. And then the rest of the River Niger is left for other peoples, particularly the French. Like I said in one of my programs, any part of that River Niger, from the Futajalon, where it started, could have been named Nigeria if it was the British that occupied those land space.
Exactly.
So
And
what?
just like Ghana was giving Gold Coast,
Yeah.
and they thought, how could you just name us after a mineral that you found on the ground?
Mm.
And so they had to change their name to Ghana, which is an ancient empire in West Africa.
Aha.
Now,
Aha. If I may want to take you on that, will the people of Nigeria adopted the name Songhai, which is an ancient
ancient
empire
empire.
in northwest, in West Africa, the northern part of Sokoto,
Nigeria,
and extending to
Mali, Burkina
extending
Faso,
to Mali, was the ancient Songhai
Songhai
Empire.
Empire. Yeah.
Would you want to say that a leader, a political leader, will now want to name the whole of
No,
the territory now called Nigeria Songhai.
no.
That is where I disagree with Nkrumah. The Ghana Empire is located near the top of Senegal. I don't see any anthropological or historical connection between the Ashanti people and the Ghana Empire.
Well, Nkrumah has his
What he
reason.
did, I don't know. His reason is like, just like I said, I had a gentleman who was saying that if the Robos have their new nation back, they will name it after Songhai to remember an ancient African empire. That is a very weak argument. And
It
that was
is
the same
definitely.
thing Nkrumah did. That is in remembrance of an empire that did not belong to my people. Let me give our people that name. I've argued this with some Ghanaians. I asked them, is the Ashanti people, the Fantes or the Ewes, did they have anything with the ancient Ghana Empire that is located far apart between Nouakchott and Senegal? They said,
Probably not.
I even
So,
brought a map of the same place because nowadays, when I'm talking, I would have wanted to be able to graphically illustrate what I'm saying so that people listening will understand where we're coming from. Because
and if
we
you
are
look at
part
then,
of geography.
yeah, if you look at then, what Nkrumah was fighting for, because I know Nkrumah was a hardcore Pan-Africanist. And Nkrumah was fighting for Ghana, Guinea, and Mali to become one nation. So he was of the view that if they become one nation, they can become even more powerful than just having a Ghana on its own. So in preparation for that, maybe the reason why he named it
Maybe it's
Ghana.
that.
Yeah. So it may be one of those reasons. Although saying that to say whether if they give Nigeria Songhai Empire, I wouldn't necessarily be happy if we've been Songhai, because the Yoruba nation has never been a part of the Songhai territory, and we've traded
Same thing with the
together.
Ashanti nation has never been part of the ancient Ghana Empire.
Yeah.
So
So
let me pick you on that. Because before it slips off from my mind, what we are looking at is how to make people understand that they have to understand who they are to be free. If they don't understand who they are to be free, that's a big danger because others will now be calling them by a name that does not belong to them.
to them, yeah.
And that is one of the dangers of a people like Pan-Africanism. I was just reading through the content and the this of one of the books that was the report of the 1945 conference. There's another one I'm looking for, the 1951 conference in Paris, which was organized by the RDA, the Réassemblée de Démocratique Domestique Democratique African, that is the Assembly of the Rally of African Democracy. You see, that's another branch of what you say Pan-Africanism. To me, I looked at what is the trend, what is the vision. Most of these people were just students who came to Europe at the allowance, I'll call it, of the European colonizers in their own territory. They came to Europe for education. Like you have the West African Students' Union, composed of people of West Africa who happens to be from countries controlled by the British. So West African Students' Union. And they claim Pan-Africanism. What about the French people who are not part of the same thing?
I was even going to go because when you talked about the French and we looked at Dahomey, and we know that at least 40-50% of the people in Benin Republic today are Yorubas.
Mm-hmm.
who speaks Yoruba very well. Majority of them also speak Ewe. We also have Yoruba people in Nigeria who speaks Yoruba very well, and by virtue of colonization, now speak English. Now, there is no doubt that if you travel from Lagos to somewhere at the end of Lomé, which is the border between Ghana and Togo, between Benin Republic and Lomé, you will get officers who speak French, who may not necessarily understand either Ewe or Yoruba language. Now, it then brings down the notion that we have adopted two different foreign languages, English and French, and these two people cannot understand themselves, even though they are brothers. So, how do people begin to reinvigorate the language so that we begin to say, okay, first and foremost, this is who we are. We are Yoruba. How do we develop our language so that it does not become a barrier to freedom?
I won't call it a barrier to freedom. Developing a language is the stepping stone to freedom. It's not a barrier.
Yeah,
One of the things I was trying to interrupt you, or it just came back to my mind now. You know, when, like I always want to say, I wish we have an interactive, this rolling map that will show when we are talking, it shows up those places. You said about Ghana, Guinea, Mali. As a student then, the first thing I did was to open up a map of West Africa. I found that Ghana, Guinea, Mali have no common border. So is it a federation of the heads of state of those countries? Has it got anything?
well,
Has it got anything to do with the people that are in those countries? The answer is no. You see, when a people have a common boundary adjacent to each other, then there can be that kind of commonality of unity of purpose, not only at the level of the heads of state, but at the level of the people below, the people in the rural areas, the integration of those people, which is going to be easy with those of us in Yoruba land and Benin Republic and Togo, because there's, like some of you know, Ketu, the main Ketu in Yoruba land is in Benin Republic, not Ketu in Lagos. Ketu is just a quarter of the people who have come to Benin, who from Benin Republic came to settle in Eko, Lagos. So that connection is important.
Yeah, we have somebody asked a question, but Oladiran said, I don't think name is the determinant of what befell Nigeria, if not the heinous supremacists of the ethnic tribe favored by our colonial masters, whom they have used to keep Nigeria a mine. We need to understand the history, though, so that we know who we are. China could have just been named the Hansia, but definitely the Mongols won't agree, and neither will the Ogas, another tribe called China. They speak Hanyu and write in Hanzi, among other local dialects. They have come to understand. So, like China.
Oladokun, if you are still listening, you cannot compare the existence of China with that of Nigeria. They are different things. Like I have explained, which I want people to understand. Our people, the Mongols and the Hajj, all those people you mentioned, have been having a melee of understanding wars and peace together until finally the Chamamao time, and then they sort of had the horrible revolution which killed millions of people, and finally settled to form a government. We didn't have that, and we didn't create ourselves. Nigeria is not an African creation. China is a Chinese creation. That's one key thing I'm trying
I
to
was I
let
was even
people
going
know.
to come
Yeah.
to that because somebody was asking that could we have true federalism instead of secession, like the American system? Uh,
It's impossible.
I was even going to say, for those who are asking and saying let's have true federalism,
And
I
there's
think
even nothing
they
called
don't
true
understand how we
federalism in
came to be
politics.
Nigeria. People compare because we practice the federal and the state system of government that America practice does not necessarily mean we are practicing the same thing. It's way
No,
different.
we are
The
we are
United States,
practicing we are practicing this thing, feudal oligarchy in
yeah,
the name of
the
elections.
United States came together and agree that they want to become a united, and that's why they call it United States. So there are states that have come together that said, okay, we want to form and become a nation. The
And
Yoruba nation,
if I may want to add to it, and they agreed on a language, and
they
they had
agreed
to
on the
vote for
language
they
and
had to vote for the language. Three languages: French, German, and English. The English language won by one vote, so they adopted English language. If German won, they could have been a German-speaking country, not
yeah,
nation. The
yeah.
German-speaking country. Or if the French had won, could have been a French-speaking country. And look at what the history of the world could have been today. So we
Yeah.
are trying to let our people know that we sat down in West Africa. There was no time our elders said they want to agree with the Fulanis, or there was no time if I want to speak Yoruba now. Táwọn bàbá wa ní pé ẹ lọ sọ fún àwọn tó wà lókè lọ́rùn ẹ jẹ́ ká ìjọ ṣèlú pọ̀.
And I was looking at the
There was no
treaty.
time. There was no time.
I was
And
looking at the treaty Alaafin signed with the king in 1888. The treaty was just a treaty
exclusive
of
to the
trade.
Yorubas,
And it was exclusive for the Yorubas. It's
not
just a treaty
with
of trade.
Igbos or Hausas.
It has nothing to do with, oh, we want to merge with tribes of other people or whatever. It just says
That's the
the
point.
people will have the opportunity to trade with my people, and there will be no extra levy other than the customary levy that is being placed on everybody for the purpose of trade. So for people who are saying let's adopt true federalism, I think that is not going to be
It's
possible.
a non-starter.
It's not going to work.
And there's nothing even called true federalism.
If you
can't
say
find
true federalism,
any political this thing, any political treatise or development. Federalism. Oligarchy is oligarchy.
democracy is democracy.
No, dictatorship is dictatorship. Democracy is the binding words to
System
all
of
of them.
government.
It's the system. The oligarchs also have elections. The feudalists also have elections. The dictators also have elections. So it is not the reason. And now some of you believe that what we are calling for is not secession, because right from the beginning of the creation of that country, it has been put that if you look at the records, it was supposed to be a temporary matter in part and in place. We were the ones, the Yorubas, that sustained Nigeria up to today. The rest don't want it. If you want for me to quote for you, those of you listening, Balewa never wanted Nigeria, even though he eventually became the first prime minister and the chief minister at that time, because there was this suspicion that the educated Southerners were going to go to the armpits of the Russians to become a communist nation. But one thing they did not understand is that the Africa is basically capitalistic. There was no way communism was succeeded in Africa. That's the nature. Because
I don't think communism has a place in Africa, because from time immemorial.
I had the pleasure of attending a youth camp in Togo in 1971, where we were building a community center and a health center for the people of Parliament. in the central Congo. So if you have a map, you can check it. We, as students from Nigeria and other African countries, built that place. And then there was a CIA young man from Switzerland who came. And I challenged him and said, look, we are interested in the future of Africa. We want to show to our young men who go to school that they can use their hands to build. We don't need the white man to bring every equipment. We can buy the equipment of the white man to use to build our Africa in our different countries in the way we want it. That's 1971. And I told him the Africa is basically capitalistic and that your governments are wasting time trying to prevent communism in Angola.
And even
that I should be trading with them. I clearly said that within 3 days, the young man went back to Europe because he came to see her. Are these people trying to practice communism? Because they were scared of communism.
They're still scared today. Even Russia doesn't practice communism to the real core communism.
But they are trying to move towards that again.
Well,
unfortunately, the people have tasted freedom and they don't want to give it away.
Exactly. And even China itself, even China, that is still, I would say, is still one of the hardline communist country, still has some form of
capitalism. Even they are the most capitalist of
and now China is exactly. China has become the biggest capitalist of the world. Because they realize that there's no way you will be a communist to do things without engaging with the outside world.
Yeah.
Especially now that the world is a global.
You have to monetize the activity of the people.
Exactly.
It's just like what happened in Russia, if you know the history of communism. To the point that in 1971, I will quote this too, Russia imported 1.9 billion pound worth of rice from Americas when their collective farms were failing. And I'll tell you, it was food that broke Russia. Food.
Of course, food is what is been breaking empires and
because they were unable to manage it. Now in Nigeria itself now, the Fulani marauders are trying to prevent food cultivation. My farm was destroyed. Unfortunately, I have to mention it was destroyed. The proceeds from that farm for the harvest period, if it had come out, was about 1.9 million naira. And it's not only one harvest, and the next harvest, and so on and so forth. But it's been destroyed completely. So
which is a
try
shame.
Try to manage and pretend that we don't need to separate ourselves. It is the fact. Even Kuka, if some of you don't know, Reverend Kuka has been a very strong advocate of peace and all that. Has now come out with the fact that, and using part of what I've been saying, that we should go and separate so that we can develop, so that the African continent can now come into the mainstream of international development, science and technology. We are wasting our time trying to pretend that we can find a solution to trap down our freedom, so that we can keep the name Nigeria, which we didn't ask for in the first place. We didn't ask to be called Nigeria.
And for many viewers who are still thinking, oh, maybe if we have a form of federalism, we can then have meaningful development. No, that would not work. We see the ongoing constitutional amendment, which is fraudulent, because you cannot repair a broken house with broken pieces. You have to demolish and rebuild. And the only way we can rebuild is for the people to decide within themselves how they want to rebuild. So for people who are saying federalism, the sort of federalism that have been preached before was that let Nigerians come together and decide how they want to live. No. The federalism you would have is, even if it is one tiny, if it is, okay, let's just pick EFIC. If EFIC say this is how they want to be governed, this is how they want to stay, this is how they want to comport themselves within a larger, then let Efik decide that. Let Yoruba decide their own. Let the Igbos decide. Let the Gbagis decide their own. Let the Kanuris decide. And then they can then come together and say they want to form whatever union they want to form.
I want to, if I want to, there's a message on the screen.
Yeah, it says such a pretense.
This is not sustainable. What pretenses? Can you, because we are talking fast and figures, can you explain what you mean by, so that we can answer your question? And that statement does not really address the issue we are talking about.
Yeah, he said Nigeria is broken already. So he's talking about those who are asking of federalism, that is just pretense.
Thank you, Oladino. And if I want to add to your statement, Nigeria has been dissolved since 2018, but we ignore that fact. Most of us ignore it. It was dissolved when this that president called Buhari was coming back from Egypt after an African conference. When he was landing, he announced that Nigeria is an open border. It was an intention. He had all these things happening today had been planned since before 1962. And there are people who can attest to it, who lived and worked with him in the Congo, that at some point he was ruminating and saying, my vision is to turn Nigeria and get it to become the estate of our great forefathers, of Madam Fodio, 1962. You cannot deny it. That's the thing. That has been in his mind. And every effort to make sure that the West does not develop. Look at even when he was Minister of Finance at some time, during the military era. What happened? Monies were disappeared, 2.8 billion pounds. And even after, when he got there as head of state, Oyo Dam, that should have by now be producing more electricity for us, has been closed down since 1984, all because he had cancelled the continuous development of that dam and the resources and the ability to produce electricity. And the one Obasanjo left behind, the Ikeregoj Dam, was built halfway. The equipment to be installed were already there in situ. Some of the white men who took part in this, because some of that, they were put their hands on their head. So these people did not complete this job. This place that should have been giving water to about 3,000 hectares of land, electricity to the people, and fishing, and with modern technologies now, we could install solar panels on the waters to provide additional electricity. And then we keep on trying to, we are not succeeding. Nigeria has run its course right from day one. 1913, before it was even established, Lugard said it was a temporary matter in part and in place. That was September 1913. That is why I said, for the price of freedom, borders on information, understanding, knowing who you are. We were never Nigerians. And if most of you are Yorubas, wọ́n pín wa mọ́ Nàìjíríà ni pẹ̀lú àwọn yòókù. Ìpínlẹ̀ ní Nàìjíríà jẹ́, kì í ṣe orílẹ̀-èdè. It has never been orílẹ̀-èdè. Tó bá jẹ́ orílẹ̀-èdè, èdè kan náà gbogbo wa máa sọ. Of course, ṣé ẹ máa sọ pé èdè èbó ni èdè gbogbo wa? How many people do understand English language in the north? Or the last personal parade that I watched of the so-called, what they call them, the repentant Boko Haram, was done in Hausa language of Fufude. Like I said, Nigeria had been dissolved. Sometime, I think 2020, when towards the end, during this Bakari Salah thing, Buhari addressed the country, of which in quote called the nation, in Hausa language. Do we all understand Hausa language? The press conference held by our Attorney General on the case of
Igbo.
no, the case of Kanu. Well
Yeah.
attended press conference with all the speakers from international press. He addressed them in Fulfulde. Do we speak that language? They are practicing the virtual emergence of an Arewa Republic, which they are targeting for 2026, and we are ignoring that to our own peril. They closed the borders in the south, and even the coastal waters of the south, so that they believe our people should not trade with Benin, and yet we say we are ECOWAS. He opened the borders in the north. There's no border between us. In fact, that has always been. I've known this when I was living in Ibadan by people who traded with Chad and Niger. They just get to the border and then they wave to them. The border guys say goodbye, and when they are coming back, welcome, and then they drop some money for them.
I was even going to talk on the northern borders. Now, this is what
go on.
This is what Lugard said. He said because majority of the finances that were being used to cater for the north was just on defense, and he said that border in the north has always been like an open border, very difficult to man. I know we say we have borders in the north. For me, it feels like there is no border.
That's none.
There's an artificial border to say this is Nigeria territory, this is Niger territory, this is Chad territory.
Yeah, they just
the whole of that north see themselves as one. Yeah. And that is why Buhari was using most of the southern resources to build development in Niger Republic.
Yeah.
And that is why we see the Boko Haram insurgents crisscrossing and free-flowing between Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, and Niger Republic around the Kanuri axis, which is become a very terrible problem for especially us in the mangrove forest in the south. Because what Yorubas are not wary of now is we've got the terrorist camp and base building and expanding in Niger State. And Niger State is the border. They are already in the south, but they are building a massive camp now, an outstretched camp in the northern borders of Yoruba land. And that will pose a very great
danger to our existence.
Exactly. And our people need to understand that the Yoruba nation is different from the Arewa nation, is different from the Igbo nation. And the earlier we understand that these people are different, the better we would understand that federalism would not work for us. Federalism, because how do you begin to say we want to cooperate for people who are sworn that no, they don't want development, they don't want education, they don't want anything that has to do with uplifting their social status? And we are saying the only way for us now, our cheapest weapon is our source of information at our disposal. The cheapest weapon to fight this ongoing menace that has befallen us is to equip ourselves with knowledge, because it is only that knowledge that can take us out of these doldrums that we found ourselves. Otherwise, we will not have enough schools for our children, we will not have enough hospitals for our sick, we will not have good pension retirement for our aged. And that is not what we want as a society, because that is exactly what they want. So the only thing...
if you want, what you just said is very important, and I want to remind, because a sense of history is very important to us. Uh, During the era of Awolowo in the 1951 to 59,
Yeah.
everything you just said, people on pension sit at home and the pension envelope is brought to them by the local postmaster. Owó pension ẹni sá, àṣé a lè rí ọtí díẹ̀ mú bẹ́ẹ̀. I saw it as a little boy. Now, what happens are people are running helter-skelter to a central single office in Abuja to claim their pension. Some die on the way.
Hmm.
People in the local, far distant from Ibadan got their pension posted to them at the right time every month. We lost
Exactly.
that because we decided to subsume our freedom and our advantage into a Nigeria that has destroyed everything around us. Where's the electricity in Lagos? Lagos that should have been one of the largest centers of industry and commerce and tourism. Was it just a junkyard? Some of
Well,
you see all those buildings there. They are just, I don't see them as something to be proud of, where you have to have a thousand out there to be watching you sleep, when the wives of the others are suffering at home, and maybe some little boys are screwing them. I'm sorry, I have to say this. I've seen it happen. Like, or they came back to the place I stayed about after from some days, beaten up. Why? He got home after his long night of audition to meet the wife being, of course, you know what I mean. That's the kind of society we want to continue? No, I don't want to be in that. I want the freedom of the air. I want to be able to see my house built with flowers in the front, and people can come and we chat across the fence. It's not happening now.
I
And in
mean,
most African countries, we are living in gated environment, and that is not development.
not only gated, iron gated, iron bars, as though we are living in
Gated and
prison yard
electrified.
and electrified. You can't come out. Uh,
Yeah, at this point.
in the UK, you or several countries, you could get up at 12 a.m. in the morning, early morning, and drive wherever you want. In Nigeria today, talking about Ode, which are the Megad, which are the security, street security. Every street needs to get a security for themselves.
Let me commend this lady, Mandy. I'm very grateful for you quoting that. Even the first um, the first foreign minister under Blair quoted this also in his first speech at the European conference. And it is part of what I have always been writing. I thank you for bringing this up, defining it, and let many more people know your point. And I will continue to move this information because this is quite important to all of us. That we cannot
So
continue to be in a mess.
yeah, so
Thank you,
Mandy
Mandy.
is saying a nation is made up of people, and that is people confuse nation and country.
Yeah.
Because what we have now, they say, oh, nations.
No.
Some people are nations, because even in the United Kingdom, we have 3 different nations in the United Kingdom. So we have the Welsh, we have the Scottish, and we have the English. So they have their nations within a kingdom. Now, in the case of Nigeria, so Mandy is reminding us that a nation is made up of people with common ancestral origin, history, culture, and most importantly, language. And then what bind all these things together is a common way of life.
Yeah.
I understand the way he lives. I understand the way he reasons. I understand, and that makes communication easy. Now,
Not
but
to say that, it also borders on the celebration of so many things, birth and death celebrations that is
Exactly.
common, and the way we name our people in Yoruba land, which
Way
is
different.
appreciated by the white men. They want to know. We know that you have several names. What's the meaning of your name? What's the most
Exactly.
important part of your name? What is it related to your ancestral region? It is. I'm
Yeah.
happy that Mandy. Thank you very much. I'm very, very grateful for bringing
Yeah.
up this.
Yeah. So Mandy
Yeah.
said we don't have anything common with the Northern Protectorate to make our coexistence easy.
Continue.
Because when you have clash of ideas, one has to give way. If
Yeah.
you want to live in the same country, you need to identify and agree and know that these people are different and they have to live differently. When you force them to say you must live the same way, then all you are just causing is you're causing a trouble that cannot be solved,
And which is what we are experiencing today.
which is what we are experiencing today. And that is why people who are saying let's have federalism, uh, I think that's not going to work. So Oladipo is saying something. He say, correct me if I'm wrong. A stealth slavery of the land is completed, and enslavement is the undeclared state of the people, which the people themselves are unaware of. The caliphate of Danfodio have wittingly reached the completion, but cleverly keep brandishing a one nation. So I would say one Nigeria. We are a laughing stock when we, thinking we have rights, make noises that hold no water. Slaves don't have rights. See how long it took to get Chief Sunday Igboho a little breather. Where's the right? Our elected men. So it goes on.
I, I'm very impressed by Oladiran's summary, and we need to talk to our people, and that is the important thing why we are on this program. Just a minute.
Yeah. So I think
No, you're
Oladipo
taking on it.
captured it brilliantly, because yeah, slaves don't have rights. They might think they have a right to choose, but it's the choice that's been given to them. For instance, if you put ant in a bottle,
Okay, mo fẹ́ múra kí n
the
jáde.
ant can still
Wà lórí
maneuver
program.
within that bottle.
Ó dàbọ̀ nà.
But in as much as it is not attempting to come out of that bottle, it remains safe for it and the people who placed it in the bottle. And that is the situation of many people in Nigeria. And that's why a lot of people are always looking for a way of escape. Some manage to get escape, but slaves don't have rights. Yeah. And that is why in the olden days, in the slavery era, they could throw people aboard into the sea because they see them as properties rather than people who have blood flowing in their veins. So we need to educate our people to understand that the fact that there are no physical chains on our neck does not mean that our brothers and sisters are not dying in the Mediterranean Sea looking for a good life. It does not mean that our brothers and sisters, when you need something that is your right and you have to bribe to get it, you are being in bondage. You just don't know it. If you need something, if you need to go somewhere and you cannot for fear of your life, then you are a bondage of that thing. So we need to understand that so many things have kept our people in bondage. So to
Uh,
live in a country where your fellow man has more rights than you or can determine his own fate and you cannot means you are in a absolute bondage, and we need to free ourselves from those kind of
and to free ourselves is to make our people understand this invisible bondage by this expose that we are in. I like the contribution of those who have listened, and I like Oladiran's summary. But don't be sad about it. Don't be despondent. One thing we need to do is that we're going to, you see, our elected leaders in the South, we elected them. There must be a time we should all stand up that we are refusing to mortgage our own individual sovereignty to this election process. We don't need to continue to what I usually describe as subsuming our votes into a process that is going to enslave us. We are the ones who have enslaved ourselves by making sure that in Nigeria, as we know it today, exists. Our great men like Bat Macaulay was a very strong proponent of freedom for Nigeria. I thought when I was growing up, I believed that he should have been talking for freedom for the Yoruba people out of a Nigeria our forefathers did not create. I keep on stating it. Our forefathers did not come up with the creation of Nigeria, and they never named it that way. Unfortunately, I will remind all of us that in 2013, there was a very horrible video. I couldn't challenge it because some people said I shouldn't. That was going on, and that was a paid video on CNN for a whole year, and showing some beautiful young kids between the age of 6 and 8 coming out one by one saying, I will look for the video. I will show it one of these days. In 1914, our forefathers came together.
That's
Then another one will come. Yes, that is how the narratives came together to form a country called Nigeria. And then they said that is to be united, strong, and famous. Is it united? Not. I wanted, CNN got it as an advert. So they got a lot of money. But it was left for us Africans, who happens to be Nigerians, to challenge it. But I didn't have the wherewithal to link to tell them that they are coming an atrocious chronological statement about the people of Nigeria. There was never a time the people of Nigeria came together to say they want to form it. That was the statement.
Never.
Maybe if some of you can scroll, I know it's in one of my computers. I would look for it again and then play it. It is sad. And that is part of the enslavement of the minds of our people. And I understand at that time that Jonathan and some other people came up with the idea, including Dangote. And Dangote that we are talking about today, some of you will remember Folawiyo. That's another topic for another day. I'm afraid I need to sign out at this time. I've gone beyond.
I was going to say we need to round up. I'll just read the statement of 4F. He said, "A people who don't share the same aspiration, values, vision, and mission can never experience progress and development. Nigeria will continue to go down until the different nations quit the contraption." Nigeria is already down.
Thank you. And
Nigeria is already there. We just need to walk out now.
Yeah, we need to
walk out now.
Walk out, and maybe through a referendum in the different locations, just like the 2 referendums of freedom that I have experienced, the Timor-Leste or East Timor. They had a referendum organized by the United Nations. Southern Sudan had a referendum organized by but the case of Southern Sudan, they are like Nigeria. The people there have nothing in common. They don't speak the same language. This will explain another time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So thank you, viewers. This is where we would draw the curtain for today's program. So we'll see you again next week, same time, 12 o'clock. Sorry, the systems were a bit dragging and we took some time before we came up. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you again next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much for listeners. I'm very grateful for this interactive discussion and your postings. It's very interesting. Thank you very much. And at this point, sign out. I'm very grateful for you listening.
kójókójó làbẹ́wò kúkú dùkú lóko. Podium International wọ́n ti wà tipẹ́tipẹ́ látìgbà tí wọ́n ti ń bàbọ̀ wọn ò fìgbà kan tẹ́rì o. Wọ́n ti wá ṣe bẹ̀bẹ̀ wọ́n ti gbé bẹ̀bẹ̀ dé. Podium Cinema ni wọ́n tún gbé dé. Podium Cinema lórí YouTube ẹ fọ́lọ̀ wọn kẹ́ ẹ láìkì wọn kẹ́ ẹ subscribe. Ibẹ̀ lẹ́tì mọ̀ wọ àwọn àdé àbálẹ̀ fíìmù ẹ̀dọ̀kí fíìmù tó léfo gan tààrà. Podium Cinema mo bẹ́rí fún yín fíìmù 9 ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ni wọ́n kó jáde o. Àwọn gbàǹkọ́gbé fíìmù èkíní májẹ̀mú ẹ̀gbọ́n èkejì my wet ẹ̀kẹta ọmọ ẹni ẹ̀kẹrin àlàmú èkó ẹ̀karùn-ún àìmọ̀ ṣe wá rí pé nǹkan kì í ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ràgó ó kọjá bẹ́ẹ̀ eléyìí lẹ́ti kẹjù èdè Yorùbá ni wọ́n fi ṣe àwọn fíìmù yìí ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹfà sẹ́ẹ̀kẹsàn-án èdè òyìnbó ni wọ́n kọ́ ẹ̀kẹfà tẹ́mà èkeje the casting ẹ̀kẹjọ M1 the detective ẹ̀kẹsàn 100 M1 the detective at 100 orí síríìsì lẹ́fì máa wò ó ìyẹn dàgbéléwò nìyẹn Podium International Podium Cinema ẹ fọ́lọ̀ wọn kẹ́ ẹ láìkí wọn lórí